I don't think you can look at this series and say that Toronto is not the favorite. I think the Raptors should be the favorite going into this Game 4 and for the rest of the series. They regained home court advantage, which is big to a degree. But we know what we're going to get out of Toronto. We think, at this point, Kawhi Leonard, not 100%, but 85-ish percent. And we know we're going to be able to get out of him the rest of the series what he's given up until this point. Fred VanVleet, ever since he had his baby, has been fantastic for the Toronto Raptors. They are what they are. They're a complete product out there on the floor. I don't know what Golden State's going to be every single night. I believe Klay Thompson's going to come back for Game 4, but I believe he's going to be run ragged and tested every single time on the defensive end. I don't believe Kevin Durant's coming back in Game 4. I'm still skeptical that he'd come back in a Game 5 because of the nature of that injury. And if he doesn't, how do you bet on this Golden State team? Now, Jeff Van Gundy said on the broadcast last night, and I'm not sure I agree with him, but he said that team out there on the floor was not a playoff team in the Western Conference.
You're sure you don't agree with him?
I don't agree with him.
That was wrong. I love JVG. He was totally wrong. It's disrespectful to Steph Curry.
It is, but it's the point is it's a team that doesn't belong anywhere near a finals matchup. And Toronto is. Like, Toronto, all along, I believe going into the playoffs, they were the best team in the Eastern Conference, hands down. They were a team that had playoff depth from all the years they got beat by LeBron in the postseason, and they had finals experience. Kawhi's a former finals MVP. They've got guys, Danny Green played big in postseason.
Serge
Ibaka's played there before. So this team is not a flash in the pan, the Raptors. I think they're the favorites, and they should be.
Well, when you say they're not a flash in the pan, they said something during the broadcast that struck me off guard, and then I was like, oh, I guess, of course that's right. Golden State Warriors over the last 3 years have the most wins in basketball. That surprises no one. You know who has the second most wins in basketball? Not Houston, it's Toronto.
Yep.
Toronto over the last 3 years. They just hadn't been able, they didn't have the superstar to go eye to eye with LeBron in those playoff runs. They then got him, and LeBron left, and so they took their rightful place, even though obviously I thought Milwaukee would be the team here, but they went through Milwaukee. They have now won 6 of 7 games against Milwaukee and Golden State. Think about that. The two teams that were the favorites to come out of each of their conference going into the playoffs, even if they weren't your favorite, the Vegas favorites. So I understand Toronto is not a fluke, and they are healthy, and they are playing great basketball. And Chris, you pointed out there's been 12 quarters played. Toronto's won how many of them?
10.
10 of the 12 quarters in the series they've won. The reason I think Golden State is still the favorite just by the slightest of margins is this. Do we believe they're going to win Game 4? Because I do. And at 2-2, if the series not at 2 games apiece, where Golden State has held off Toronto, I think that Golden State resumes their status as 60-40 favorites. So I'm baking in a win in Game 4 at home. I don't think Toronto is going to go to Oracle and steal both. I understand Klay. I don't think KD's going to play either, and Klay won't be 100%. But I think having him out there will be enough to get them over the top, and I don't think it's realistic to expect all 5 Toronto starters shoot 50% and go for 17+ in the next game. But this is the closest the Warriors have had to deal with since Durant's been on the team. And Durant, obviously, right now is on the team but not playing for the team.
This is very, very difficult right here because Golden State, you want to respect them, but you don't know who's going to be there. And based on the last month of basketball, I would have to say I favor Toronto Raptors. They're far more predictable. We see their role players, even in spot duty right now. We saw Serge play well. So we don't need him to play well every game. Every other game, if he shows up, makes a contribution, we don't need Danny Green to knock down 5 or 6 threes every game, but we just need him to play a normal. All their players are back to playing. What are we going to get from Iggy? Man, he looks tired. All right, his legs, like, you can tell that the season's worn on him. Draymond, I expect him to be able to bounce back. But this is my biggest concern. Golden State wants this to be a 7-game series. I mean, because they're not going to win 3 games in a row. But you know what we're doing after every game now that's going to be played? We're getting ready to travel. So after Game 4, they're going to get on the airplane. If KD tries to play, which he's not, Klay tries to play, he's got all that soreness that he's got to get in the airplane, and anyone involved in athletics will tell you your body does not heal as fast when you're traveling as you were if you were stationary and on the ground. Long flights, and then after they play game number 5, you know what they're going to do? Get on a plane and travel again. So for me, even if KD comes back, Game 5, Klay in Game 4, huge advantage to Toronto. Kawhi, we know what tendinitis is. We know the form of treatment. He's only going to get so much rest. Kyle Lowry is going to play pretty good, probably every other game. They probably don't need much more than that. Huge advantage, I believe, to the Raptors with home court advantage, and that you're traveling every game now. That's not good for the injuries that the Warriors have.
Did it surprise you that the odds are even now for these two teams at this point in the series?
I don't see why they wouldn't be just because of the injuries. And look, if you're Toronto, the confidence you must have going into Game 4 has to be at an all-time high. Because, yes, you lost Game 2, but you got to feel that you lost Game 2 because you went into that third quarter and you were missing a ton of open shots on your home floor, shots that you usually make in that particular situation.
Maybe just as simple as this. If Nick Nurse calls a timeout earlier, compared to allowing that run just to go.
Call the timeout at the 14-0 run, when it was a 14-0 of the 18-0. If he does it at 7-0, you think it maybe goes.
But I think you make the best point. Open shots, if they're open, they're always going to be open. They got open shots Game 1, they made them. They got open shots in game number 2. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I look at Lowry, and this was a huge bounce-back game for him. To have the Game 3 that he had, and look, you look at Steph Curry's performance and say, well, Kyle Lowry didn't play in the defense. I thought he played really well overall in that game. And if he can give you anything close to what he gave you with that type of play, that's a game changer for Toronto because he has been a mixed bag at times during the postseason. This guy is the key to everything they do with Toronto winning.
And maybe it's just too much of what I've seen from Golden State over the last 5 years that I feel like they should be favored in every series they play until they've lost. Like when Jenna told me this morning the series odds came out and it was even, I thought you had to be wrong.
Of course.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't believe it. I thought Golden State, even down 2-1 in the series, because they were very significant favorites going into the series, and Vegas knew KD was injured and knew Golden State didn't have home court advantage. So when Vegas had them favored there, they knew it was on the board that through 3 games, it'd be 2 games for the home team, 1 game for the road team, which is what it is right now, even though it's coming in odd order.
But how do you objectively look at Game 4 and say hobbled Klay Thompson and this same group that played Game 3 and give the Warriors the respect of being the favorite there? I'm with you that as a completed team, they should be considered the favorite every series they play in. But whatever Klay is going to be, it's less than 100%. I don't think you can look at that and say, yeah, sure, they're the favorites in that Game 4.
Oh, well, Vegas agrees with the favorites in Game 4. They're about 6.5-point favorites, I think, in Game 4.
Golden State is.
Golden State is. So you can make a lot of money right now if you want to bet on Toronto. Yeah. I think Golden State's going to win Game 4, but the toughest thing Golden State now has is the math against them. There's 2 ways to win a championship. Win 3 straight games or win a Game 7 on the road. Those are the only 2 paths they have, and now maybe you look back. You played Toronto twice this year, and I know this is super Monday morning quarterbacking, but one of those games, Kevin Durant scored 51, and you lost. Another one, Kawhi Leonard didn't play, and you lost. If Golden State had won either one of those games, they have 58 wins, Toronto has 57 wins, and Golden State has home court in this series, and then maybe it's a little bit of a different path for them.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.